breaking barriers, building empires, the untold revolution of Black professional networks. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me today for what I promise will be a conversation that challenges conventional wisdom about success, power, and transformation in America. I recently had the extraordinary privilege of interviewing Porsche Taylor, a visionary force who has dedicated her life to dismantling the invisible barriers facing Black professionals. Porsche isn't just an advocate, she's an architect of change whose strategic brilliance has created pathways where none existed before. Her ability to see systems clearly and then methodically reconstruct them has made her one of the most influential voices in the movement for economic justice and professional equity. What makes Porsche truly remarkable is her refusal to accept the world as it is, combined with her practical genius for building the world as it should be. Our conversation left me profoundly changed. And today, I want to share with you the revolutionary insights that emerge from our dialogue. Insights that I believe have the power to transform not just individual careers, but the very foundation of how we understand power, opportunity, and collective action in America. We've all heard these statistics, the 41% pay gap between Black women and white men, the fact that only 3.2% of executive or senior leadership positions are held by Black professionals, the persistent discrimination that shows up in hiring, promotion, and everyday workplace interactions. These facts are sobering, they're infuriating, but they're also incomplete. Because here's what rarely makes headlines. In response to these systemic failures, Black professionals aren't just surviving, they're architecting entirely new systems of power and opportunity. They're not just adapting to broken structures, they're building alternative structures altogether. And this is the counterintuitive truth I want to explore with you today. In the face of persistent exclusion, Black professionals are creating something revolutionary: parallel economies, alternative networks, and institutions designed specifically to nurture Black excellence and build community wealth. This isn't just adaptation, it's innovation. It's not just resistance, it's reconstruction. Let me share with you what Porsche Taylor revealed during our conversation that fundamentally challenged my understanding of power. The traditional narrative, she told me, positions Black professionals as perpetually struggling to gain access to existing power structures. But that's only half the story. The more compelling narrative is how we're building our own tables instead of begging for seats at tables that weren't designed for us in the first place. This perspective shift is crucial. It moves us from a deficit based understanding of Black professional experience to an asset based recognition of Black ingenuity, strategy, and collective power. Let me illustrate this through three remarkable examples that Portia highlighted during our conversation. First, consider the African American Alliance of CDFI CEOs. For those unfamiliar, CDFI's community development financial institutions are specialized organizations that provide financial services in economically distressed communities. They're critical engines of small business growth, affordable housing development, and wealth creation. For decades, Black led CDFIs have received a fraction of the funding that their counterparts receive. In 2020, a landmark study revealed that white led CDFIs had, on average, 2.5 times the assets of Black led CDFIs. This isn't just an organizational disparity, it's a community catastrophe. When Black led financial institutions are undercapitalized, entire Black communities lose access to the loans, mortgages, and investments needed for economic mobility. But rather than accept this systemic failure, the alliance formed to create collective power. They developed sophisticated research tools to track capital flows and make the invisible visible. They built educational programs to strengthen their members' capacity. Most importantly, they leverage their collective voice to advocate for policy changes that would redirect capital to Black communities. The results have been transformative, but through strategic organizing, they've secured hundreds of millions in new investments for Black led CDFIs. These aren't just financial transactions, they represent dreams funded, businesses launched, homes purchased, and futures secured. As Porsche explained during our interview, when we strengthen Black financial institutions, we're not just changing balance sheets, we're changing life trajectories. We're creating the possibility for generational wealth in communities that have been systematically denied that opportunity for centuries. This is what reconstruction looks like in practice, not just identifying broken systems, but methodically building new ones. The second example that illuminates this principle comes from the Black professionals in international affairs, or BPIA. International affairs has historically been one of the least diverse fields in America. The corridors of power where global policy is shaped from the State Department to international NGOs have remained stubbornly homogeneous. The consequences of this exclusion extend far beyond individual careers. When Black perspectives are absent from international policy discussions, the resulting policies often fail to address the needs and realities of Black communities both domestically and globally. BPIA recognized this representation gap and created a community specifically designed to address it. Through networking events, professional development opportunities, and mentorship programs, they're building a pipeline of Black excellence in diplomacy, international business, and global policy. Their Colin Powell Leadership Institute focuses specifically on personal branding and leadership development, critical skills for advancement that are often taught informally through networks that exclude Black professionals. What's revolutionary about BPIA's approach is how it combines practical career development with a broader vision of transformation. They're not just helping individuals navigate existing systems, they're changing who has a seat at tables where global decisions are made. During my interview with Porsche Taylor, she emphasized how organizations like BPIA demonstrate the power of specialized professional networks. General networking advice often fails to account for the unique challenges Black professionals face, she explained. These targeted communities provide not just connections, but context specific strategies for advancement. The third example that emerged from my conversation with Porsche focuses on the Love Central, an initiative centered on the future of work for Black professionals. What makes this organization particularly noteworthy is its focus on addressing the specific barriers that limit advancement, unequal access to mentorship, sponsorship, and the informal networks where many career opportunities originate. Rather than accepting these barriers as inevitable, the Love Central promotes discussions and initiatives specifically designed to dismantle them. They're raising awareness about systemic challenges while simultaneously developing practical solutions. As Porsche pointed out during our interview, this approach represents a crucial shift from problem identification to solution creation. We know what the barriers are, she noted. The question now is how we systematically remove them while building alternative pathways to success. These three examples illuminate a powerful truth. Collective organization creates possibilities that individual effort alone cannot achieve. When Black professionals come together with shared purpose and strategic vision, they can build systems that elevate entire communities. This brings me to the core insight from my conversation with Porsche Taylor. Community support isn't just a nice to have for Black professionals, it's an essential foundation for success. Organizations like those we've discussed provide more than just networking opportunities. They offer spaces where Black excellence is assumed rather than questioned, where strategies can be shared openly, and where collective wisdom accumulates. In spaces created by and for Black professionals, we don't have to spend energy proving our competence or explaining our experiences, Porsche explained. That energy can instead be directed toward growth, innovation, and leadership. The second key insight centers on addressing systemic barriers through advocacy and policy change. Individual resilience matters, but it's not enough to overcome structural inequities. Organizations like the African American Alliance of CDFI CEOs demonstrate how collective advocacy can reshape resource allocation and create more equitable economic opportunities. As Portia emphasized, systems change requires both inside and outside strategies, professionals working within institutions to create change from within, and organizations applying pressure from without. The third insight focuses on empowerment through education and training. Access to specialized knowledge and skills development is crucial for advancement, yet, traditional educational pathways often contain barriers for Black professionals. The organizations highlighted in our conversation are filling these gaps through webinars, workshops, and targeted training programs. Education isn't just about formal credentials, Porsche noted. It's about access to the specific knowledge needed to navigate complex systems and build successful enterprises. These insights converge around a powerful truth. The future of work for Black professionals will be shaped not just by individual talent, which has always been abundant, but by the strength of the networks and institutions we build together. So, where does this leave us? What is our responsibility in light of these revelations? I believe we stand at a crossroads. We can continue to frame Black professional advancement as primarily about integration into existing structures, a framing that places the burden of change on those who have been excluded. Or we can recognize and support the revolutionary work of building new structures all together, work that has been happening quietly but powerfully for decades. The organizations we've discussed today, the African American Alliance of CDFI CEOs, Black professionals in international affairs, and the Love Central represent just a fraction of the ecosystem being built to support Black professional advancement. Their work challenges us to think differently about what progress looks like and how it happens. True progress isn't just about individual Black professionals breaking through barriers, though those achievements certainly matter. It's about building systems where those barriers no longer exist, where Black excellence can flourish without constraint, and where economic opportunity flows equitably to all communities. I want to leave you with this challenge. Reject the narrative that positions Black professionals as perpetually struggling against insurmountable odds. Instead, recognize the revolutionary power of collective organization and institution building happening right now. Support these efforts not just with words, but with resources, advocacy, and partnership. If you're a Black professional, seek out and engage with these networks. Your talent and perspective will strengthen them. If you're in a position of institutional power, direct resources toward Black led organizations and advocate for policy changes that address systemic inequities. If you're an ally, amplify these efforts and examine how you might leverage your own privilege to support them. As Porsche Taylor so eloquently stated during our interview, the revolution won't be televised, it will be organized. It's happening in boardrooms and community centers, in policy discussions and funding decisions. And it's creating new possibilities, not just for Black professionals, but for all of us who believe in a more just and equitable world. The future is not something that happens to us, it's something we create together. And the future being created by these visionary leaders. and organizations is one we should all be fighting for. Because when Black professionals thrive, when Black communities prosper, when Black innovation is unleashed without constraint, we all benefit from a world with more justice, more creativity, and more possibility. Thank you.